Okay, I guess we'll get started then. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Center for Student Engagement and Learning Innovations Experiential Learning Series. It's good to see so many of you, particularly so many of you like Mike, who are involved in, and Lynn, come on in, Lynn, involved in the No Straight Lines production. I think most of you are aware that many people were involved in and are involved in this project. The play played to sold-out audiences in the summer here from August 13th to 16th. It garnered a great deal of publicity, engaged audiences so well that our talkback sessions were not only lively and informative, but they were also the source of several hundred audience surveys. You're likely aware of the power of the actors, 5 of whom are here with us today, 5 out of 6, so that's wonderful. You're likely aware that Robin Nickel and Heidi Verwey directed the play, and I know most of you are aware that numerous social service agencies and several local businesses supported the project, and that Tanji Jenshorik is the coordinator of both the No Straight Lines project and the larger homelessness action plan. You're also aware, I hope, of that a number of people, come on in, Judy, a number of other people were involved. I'm happy to see that Mike Waddell, who worked on everything from the fundraiser in March to the art auction in August, and our tireless volunteer Lynn Mugford, who did wonderful ushering and postering, are here to join us as well. And if you've been to others in this series, you're well aware of the student involvement of sociologist Dawn Farrow and her 2 students, Justin Potestio and Shalyn Pigeon, and of Taryn Waterous and Robin Arundel's work with Heidi and Robin. So this series is designed to highlight the behind-the-scenes work of the students, and today you're going to hear about Pamela Erikson's testimony about her role as the play's scribe, and as well Brian Berube's account of the effect of Pamela's involvement on him and the other actors.
Good luck there.
First though, just a bit of background on service learning, because that's the course that Pamela took to do her scribing. I just want to tell you how this project differed from previous service learning projects that I've supervised. Mostly I'm like a manager, a director. I'll initiate a project, identify a suitable student or students, meet with the placement supervisor, keep in regular contact with the students in the course as well as the placement supervisor. For example, I have regular placements at Western Canada Theatre. We might arrange a meeting with the general manager and communications director with the students. We'd lay out the roles and responsibilities of the students. We'd construct a course outline with appropriate readings, and the students would advise me weekly of their progress. By the middle of the semester, the student would have submitted a reflective essay and worked with me to devise his or her major project. Ideally, that would be something that would benefit the student's studies as well as be of use to Western Canada Theatre. For the most part, service learning, while it often brings students out of their comfort zone and hopefully is transformative to their learning, can be planned. But out of your comfort zone and transformative took on whole new meanings with Pamela's placement. For her, for me, and I dare say for most of, if not all of the other participants. Although I began the process of convincing Pamela to become involved in the homeless play almost a year before she actually began, I wasn't really able to give her much more information beyond this extremely vague term, scribe. We were both attracted to the term. It conjures up kind of images that literature lovers find romantic, but we had little clue about how it would actually translate to a decidedly contemporary setting with which neither of us had any previous experience. And in fact, even during the course, we were, in a sense, creating the experience as we went along, because none of the participants had ever done anything quite like this. Come in, Ben. Supervising service learning can come with challenges. Very rarely a student will turn out to be ill-suited for the placement or not ready for the independence that it requires, but much more commonly the out-of-the-comfort zone experiences do result in positive growth. Here too, Pamela's work was exceptional because there was added to the uncertainty of exactly what her role should be, a very profound emotional dimension to her involvement. Add that to the fact that I was at a conference and on vacation during some of the time she was working on the play, and that I myself would return and become part of her placement setting, and you have a service learning placement that is much more complex than the usual one. And it certainly proved to be a placement, as I suggested earlier, that neither of us would soon forget. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Pamela now, and she's going to pin it to her cleavage and tell you more about her role.
It's not that kind of show. So, where this?
Yeah, you pin that.
This little bit?
Yeah.
Technology. Oop, sorry. Okay, bear with me. Last year, while I was a student in Ginny's English class, she told me about the No Straight Lines theater project about homelessness, which would feature people from the community who had actually experienced homelessness. I found the idea of collaborative activist theater exciting, and I knew immediately that I wanted to be involved. I was willing to volunteer in any way I could, but Ginny told me about service learning, which I had never heard of before. She tailored a course to my involvement in the project. I thought this was a brilliant concept, to be involved in an important community project where I could learn new hands-on skills, stretch my writing abilities, connect with people who are engaged and committed to making change, and all while taking a course. I was designated the role of scribe, as Ginny mentioned, which to me sounded delightfully medieval. When I first started on the project, I really didn't know what to expect, and I didn't know exactly what I would be doing, and I didn't really even know any of the people involved. All I really knew was that I had to write down everything the actors said because the words would ultimately be made into the script. So no pressure. As the other students, Shalyn and Justin, said in their presentation, writing everything as it happened, often with several people talking at the same time, was a challenge. I had to rely on memory at times, so focusing on what was happening was pretty crucial. I soon discovered that my role was multifaceted. Besides my scribing duties, I was also a student and had to regularly submit a journal of my experiences to Ginny, something I found helpful when sorting out my thoughts and feelings. In addition, I was a kind of research assistant and a temporary member of the collective. I'm a pretty shy person by nature, and I believe that I would just quietly sit on the side and observe and take notes. This is not what happened. We all participated in daily check-ins and embarrassing theater exercises. I'm thinking zip-po-pa. Oh, yeah. Which ended up being a bonding experience because we were all equally ridiculous. Hey. We played together and ate together and sometimes cried together. There was a bit of culture shock when I first arrived on the project. I was used to the relative calm and order of a classroom. By comparison, the theater environment was a bit chaotic and unpredictable. I had never worked in a collective before, and it required some adjustment. I was accustomed to working on projects mostly alone. A collective is like a democracy. Everyone contributes and has a say. In fact, one of the best things about a collective is that everyone has a say. And one of the most challenging things about a collective is that everyone has a say. Sometimes things seem to move at a snail's pace as votes were taken and issues were ironed out, but it's all a necessary and valuable part of the process. And it all somehow managed to work out. With so many different personalities working together, there were inevitable conflicts. Emotions were high, and the actors shared extremely painful and traumatic personal stories. Every day I was struck by their courage, and I am incredibly proud of each of them. One of the most important and wonderful aspects of my involvement has been observing how the various sections of the community work together. Different departments from TRU, members from a variety of agencies, and our wonderful actors. From such diversity arose something truly beautiful. I learned there is a multitude of agencies and Kamloops that form a network of people who work together to make change and try to end homelessness in our community. TRU's involvement in such community projects strengthens the university's membership in the community. I cannot express enough the value of service learning. Had I not been introduced to it, I would never have had the opportunity to work on homelessness, and I would likely never have met all the wonderful people involved. Thanks to courses like service learning, students can get involved in the community in meaningful ways, but they can also, as I discovered, uncover and sharpen skills that may later serve them in the workplace. As an English student, I am used to writing essays. That is where I feel most comfortable. I certainly had never scribed before, or tried to organize and compile the oral stories of a group of people, or helped anyone write a bio. At times I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. Who was I to work on such an important project? What if I was doing something wrong? But the guidance and support I received from everyone, teachers, project members, and the actors themselves, helped give me confidence. Seeing the play grow from the ground up makes me feel very privileged to have been a part of it. Perhaps the most important aspect of experiential learning is the experience can help students to become better, more empathetic citizens and human beings. After all, we can only solve problems through understanding, and we can only truly understand through participation. Community-oriented courses also give the university an opportunity to partner with the greater community and be a force for positive change. Universities, as centers of higher learning and enlightenment, can encourage students to become all that is best about humanity. Perhaps part of a well-rounded education should include some element of community service. Over the course of the project, I gained appreciation for the real struggles faced by so many. I grew up poor and have had my own experiences with the system. Some of the stories I heard resonated with me on quite a personal level. My life could have been very different without my exceptional family, particularly my strong mother. But as much as I thought I understood, I realized that each individual experiences and copes with life in their own way and as best they can. I'm just gonna have a sip of coffee.
I was going to suggest that.
Okay. I didn't think it was gonna be like this. Spending time with this group of remarkable people taught me that we possess more strength than we think, and we are capable of overcoming seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Each of the people who told us their stories is a testament to that. We are all more alike than we are different. I also learned that I can step out of my comfort zone and use my writing skills I acquired in the classroom to help see a project through to completion. I have the capability to learn new skills, even at my age. Often students, and maybe particularly students of arts and humanities, wonder how their academic learning will prepare them for the so-called outside world. The opportunities I have had through service learning have been invaluable. As an English student, it has been wonderful to try out my writing abilities outside the classroom. Currently, I am taking a second service learning course with Ginny about service learning. I call it meta-service learning. Part of my involvement in the course has been attending this lecture series through the Center for Student Engagement and Learning Innovation. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be presenting in it. I am an uncomfortable public speaker at best. I would like to end by thanking everyone who is involved in Homeless Mess for their hard work, their dedication and caring, and for letting me be a part of it. To Ginny, for introducing me to it in the first place, and for her constant encouragement and support. To Robin Nickel, wherever she is, my placement supervisor, and Ride, thank you for great talks over the bridge, and Heidi Verway for ready hugs and creative swearing. And to the actors, thank you for your stories. And know what an impact you have made. Words have power. Theater is spoken literature, and literature facilitates change. It is words, language, that creates, teaches, and informs. And you have taught us all so much. Thank you.
Hey, everybody.
Michael, come and sit down.
I'm due somewhere else, James.
Okay.
Thanks.
I actually didn't expect to have so much fun. What happened? I didn't expect to have so much fun doing this play. Ups and downs, I'll tell you. We had lots. Working with the other actors, you know, the similarities in the stories, you know, may not be the same exact thing, but a lot of the stuff you could relate to. The emotions, everything, you know, like getting that first initial cry out of the way, and it becomes a lot easier. But you know, I had to remind myself quite often that, you know, you're dealing with people's emotions. You're pretty much on edge, but I had to keep myself in check, you know, for the other actors, because, you know, I didn't want to set them off or ruin it for them, but, you know, you had to work with them. These were people that I'd passed each day. I might have nodded to some of them, but I didn't actually stop and talk to them. But once we did get talking, you know, like a lot of similarities in the stories. You know, where we all came from, different places, but, you know, a lot of the situations I found quite similar. Our handlers, that was a package deal. That was a package deal. But I've noticed my outlook has changed since the play. I view people quite a bit different now. I pay attention to not spreading hostility, because hostility belongs in my journal or directed at distracted drivers. I'm using key words now, like conduct. I use that word to keep myself in check. Because, you know, I was working with women too, so I had to keep myself in check. But I'm using that still, and, you know, I try and be aware of what kind of a message I'm sending across, how I'm coming across to people, you know, am I being a jerk? Because, you know, I'm familiar with that, and it doesn't really fit right now. But am I setting a good example for other people who are just new to subsidized housing? I mean, I've been there for, 4 years? You know, when we get new people coming in and I see the fear in their eyes, I can see it. You know, they're right out of some institution, whether it's prison, detox, whatever. And you can see it in their eyes that, oh yeah, I've been there. So I try and greet them at least, you know, let them know that they're welcome. You know, when they're in our building and they're, you know, this is all new to them as it was for me. You know, and I have a lot of catching up to do because I'm pretty ignorant of what's what within the community. You know, with the committees and everything, it's really interesting. I'm enjoying it. Seeing just who the players are. I didn't really have an idea of all that's going on in the community, all the people that are helping. And me wanting to help, I have the time, I have the energy, I have some good input at times. But, you know, there's so many areas that I can shoot for. You know, I can pretty much do whatever I want. So any opportunity I get, I want to jump at it. I want to help. Because there were so many people in the community that have helped me that I don't even know about. You know, I've had my struggles. I've had some pretty bad struggles. But, you know, overcoming stuff like that, I think it makes you a stronger person. And, you know, I'm not Mr. Wonderful, but, you know, I have some good points. And I'm trying to hone those. I'm trying to really make them worthwhile. You know, I want to be a good spot in the community, not that, you know, the dark smudge. So, I mean, it's really helpful, I think, for all the people involved, you know, the way they treat us. I mean, having somebody who really believes in you and drawing out the best of you, that's really important, and that's something that I don't want to, you know, slough off. I mean, if they're there for a reason. I mean, I can't really speak highly enough for everybody involved. I mean, like, having a scribe, you were more of a friend than anything, like, and to me that was key. That was key. Having somebody who believed in you, having somebody who had your back, you know, and that was really important because we were dealing with some pretty touchy subjects. We're talking about our life history, of the stuff we've been through, and it's not always pretty. But the way we were handled, everybody, it was a lot of caring and a lot of similarities. So I had no intention of getting up on a stage or any stage ever. That to me that's somebody else. But pork pot pie and black forest cake, sorry, sold. No, it was.
Could you talk about what, because Pamela's told me things about how she enjoyed working with you specifically, and I wonder if you two could talk about your writing relationship.
Well, the writing, I had all the stuff in my head and I'm trying to get it out on paper, but trying to organize it better and word it. And I found you kind of helped me sort through that, because I found I had to go back and put sentences in different paragraphs because I had it kind of off. But it was neat, though, the final product, you know, like knowing that I wrote something that somebody enjoyed. That was really neat.
Well, and Brian has a very particular way of speaking, and it comes through in his writing, and I enjoyed everything that you gave me. I think you have a genuine talent for writing, and I think I've told you more than once that you should keep writing, so I hope that you will.
I keep
You're good
journaling.
at it.
I keep journaling.
Good.
But I've noticed since the play, my journaling is a little bit different now. I'm trying not to focus on the negative, you know, because there's plenty of that to go around. I'm trying to really pinpoint the positive stuff in my day. I'll be having a bad day, because I do have bad days, but I'll look for something small that's going to bring me out of it. Making eye contact with somebody and saying hello. Seeing somebody walking with the bag, I'll go out of my way and go and open the door for them, even though I'm not going in the building. I do things like that, you know, and I want to be able to leave a positive mark, you know, like, and that was really important in the whole scheme of things, because, you know, I've been down the back road, and I've been to some really nasty places in my life. I don't need to keep going back there because, you know, there's better things. And I found it was weird. It's like everybody, they kind of point you in the right direction, and you know, it was really neat. Like with the writing, I'm trying to keep up with it. I'm just doing my journal basically, but I jot down the odd thing, and it kind of makes me feel good that I can go back and I can go back and look at some of the writing I've done, and it makes me pretty proud. But it also brings up a lot of the feelings, a lot of the emotions, and you know, these are things that I used to try and run away from. So I think it's really important that I'm getting it out, I'm putting it on paper, I'm vocalizing it, I'm not acting it out. And that's really important for me because, I mean, you're never too old to change. I mean, I'm an older guy. I'm still looking for new things, and the writing, I think, it's pretty cool. I mean, I enjoy it. Sometimes I get a little flustered in my head, like I said, with the organization, but, you know, like, I can't imagine jotting word for word, trying to remember everything that was said. There was just too much chatter. I don't know how these scribes and that would do that. But it was really neat. I thought you handled everybody really well. Like the way you treated me in particular, I was, you know, like that really made it worthwhile. Not saying everybody didn't treat us well, but I really didn't think it would turn out the way it did. I really didn't. There was times I thought this is a dead issue. We're not gonna get anywhere with this thing. And I thought it was, no, this is gonna crash and burn. But the fact that there was all the people that were hanging in there, the people that were working with us, they kept supporting us, and they kept us hanging in there. And once we got past that one really nasty hurdle, there was no turning back. It was, okay, here we go. And, you know, you try and steer that ride, but it's kind of got a life of its own.
Thanks, Brian. So in the 20 minutes or so we have remaining, this is discussion, question, comment period. So we welcome your questions, comments.
I have a comment, kind of slash question. I know I was one of the people that at times would say to Pam, this one's off the record. I don't want you writing this down. And I believe that was always honored. Mm-hmm. Was that awkward? Did you ever find that, how was that for you to be asked to, hey, this can't?
I mean, I absolutely respected anybody who told me anything that they didn't want repeated. Like Brian said, it sort of felt like a group of friends more than anything. And if you tell me something in confidence, I have no problem not repeating that. So anything that anybody told me not to write, I didn't write down. But it didn't feel awkward. It didn't feel weird. It's just somebody asking me not to repeat what they said. So.
Mike.
We talked about the play moving on and morphing into something else with roots to the first presentation. But when you talk about service learning, I mean, listen to all the students that were involved. There was an emotional component that I don't think anybody forecast. And as the actors have said over and over, if not for the support system, they wouldn't have been as successful. I'm wondering about the service learning model. I'm wondering if the university has any directions into coordinating it, providing support for people like Pam who take those risks. And as students, we take risks, but I think we're often hoping there's going to be someone there to catch us, right? And I just, where's service learning, the service learning model that's being used here at the university, where is it going?
Well, Heidi and I can both talk about that. I guess Pamela relied a lot on me, and of course Robin and Heidi, especially when I was away. That was,
Yeah.
and we do have, of course, counseling services here at Cliff Robinson's area that would help. And
That's exactly what I wanted to talk about, actually give a shout out to our counseling department. We as instructors have a model here where we can go and ask for help if life choices, I think it's called. We have a very good program here for that. The students, and in the theater program, I always say we don't need more counseling, we're just like closer to, you know, dealing with emotions and people and stuff. So we know the counseling program very well, and as part of their tuition, they get access to their our counseling department. And Cliff Robertson, as she said, and Dwayne Seibel, who's on a leave this semester doing even bigger work, they help a lot with the emotional support of our students, and they are a wonderful team.
Plus, I'm a lot older than most of the students, and it's so I don't feel like a kid, and I've had a lot of experiences in my life, so I wasn't completely unfamiliar with some of the things I might face. So, yeah, it's not like I'm 20, right?
Yeah, you know she looks it, which is super annoying. That was the only thing not likable about Pam, which is extremely helpful for us. But all those things put together made her a perfect scribe for us. She needed those sorts of experiences behind her in order to shoulder a lot of the responsibility that job took, I think.
yeah, I can't tell you how many times, especially when I was in Ontario, I thought, thank God Pam isn't 20. Yes. Dawn, did you want to say anything more? You had an intense experience with service learning with Justin and Shalyn.
Yes. Well, we did debrief all the time, and we had meetings in my office too, outside of the Stagehouse Theatre. So the three of us were always getting together. We were always, talking about what was going on.
And I even chatted with Dawn sometimes too. So everybody's very supportive.
You felt supported here at the university as well as the environment that you were immersed in?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, everybody. I mean, from, like I said, from the faculty to the various agency folks and the actors themselves everybody cared about one another, and you could really sense that. So nobody was lost.
Gary?
I'm just wondering where you go from here. You built such a wonderful collaborative community, and you had such great success with this. Do you have plans for what might come next, or what else you might do?
The musical.
The musical. For me personally,
Or anybody who wishes to respond?
we have a tentative plan to do some further research next year, and it's hard. I sort of feel guilty that I can't be in touch better with everybody, but once I'm out of school, I might have more time to get involved again. So it was great to be able to get involved with the project while doing schoolwork, sort of all at the same time. So when time permits, I hope to get re-involved with something in the community for sure.
Heidi and/or Tanti, do you want to respond to Gary's question?
Well, Ginny and I are going to Ottawa to talk about it at Canadian Association for Theatre Research.
And John may well
Really?
be doing that too.
Indeed, yes. So we're spreading the word of what we've accomplished for sure. We're going to talk about what we've done, if that helps.
We're looking at next summer. We have a window that might work for most of the cast and for Heidi and Robin in particular, that we could perform the same play again. So we're gathering sponsorships if anyone would like to donate to the cause.
And Zoe, you had a question or comment.
Well, once you finish schooling, what is your main directive? Where you would like to go as?
You know what I want to be when I grow up?
It's a very nice
Are
way
you thinking? Do you want to work with the adults per se, or children per se, or a cause, or
I'm in my, I'm almost in my mid-40s. In 11 days, I'll be 45. So I've been involved in, I volunteer for crisis shelters. I've taken some lay counseling training. So my initial plan was to get into some sort of community service kind of work until I decided to do English instead. So I don't know. I've never had this definitive plan of what I want to be. I just went to school because I love being here. So I'm just sort of trusting that something's going to come of it. We'll see.
Another thing Pam's doing is working in the Writing Center. I'm happy to see Sarah, her Writing Center coordinator, is here. Tammy.
Can I share? You know what I'm talking about? Pam?
Oh, right.
May I?
Sure.
Okay. One of the things that is going to, or that Pam and I have discussed and we're going to do is one of the things that I've been encouraged, for anybody that doesn't know, I was one of the actors. I've been encouraged for a very long time to write my story, and I've always been challenged with sitting down and doing the work necessary to write my story. I'm a little emotionally involved. And for those that know me, my emotional well-being is a daily reprieve. When Pam has finished school, she's going to be my ghostwriter and help me write my story.
Like a book?
Sorry, she's going to help me write my story.
Sweet.
So I'm very excited about that. Yeah.
Something else I've never done before. Let's hope it goes well.
Gotta start somewhere.
Any other questions, comments?
I guess I could also speak to the work that's going forward with the Home Free Collective just briefly. So we'll continue meeting in the context of the play, but we'll also keep in touch through the context of the work that we do in the community. In the past, we've been known as the Homelessness Action Plan, and we've just restructured our approach to engaging the community, and we're now called the Home Free Collective. We have a lot more organizations involved and a lot more agencies, a lot more individuals involved, and we're getting a really clear focus for our work going forward. So that'll be another way of carrying forward our efforts here with the homelessness play.
I'm going to take a little bit of liberty here and acknowledge Councillor Duty because we're all very pleased that he's here. And this is something we really took note of. We counted, we looked for politicians at every performance. And I'm happy to say that the two councillors who did attend were re-elected. We had Jonathan Cavers and Arjun attended. And so it's wonderful to see that you've attended as well, Peter.
Donovan as well.
Yeah, and Donovan Cavers.
Yes, of course, Donovan. Yes, Zoe.
I would like to ask Brian if the opportunity came up that you could be a scribe, would you? Whoa.
I don't think I have what it takes for that.
We believe in you.
Yeah, come on.
It's too quick. If it was a slower, maybe the old folks home. It would have to be a slow go.
Dennis or Bob, did you want to say anything about your experiences? Dennis presented at an earlier offering in this series. Okay, so we'll put you on the spot. Mike.
On Dennis's behalf, when he was sitting there, somebody from the audience asked him about the separation between lived life and the acted life. And I always remember he said, there's only one me in me.
Yeah, it was neat sharing the same kind of viewpoint, like, if you could help 1,000, that's great, but if you could just help that one person, that's enough. I always remember what you said about that. that sticks with me, so thanks.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. There's one more presentation in the series, and that's by two nursing faculty, Florianne Fair and Michelle Funk, and Paul Clark in business. They're going to talk about interculturalism, getting their students together. So thanks again for coming.
You.